The girl returned home and found a strange man playing video games in her room. She was so frightened that she immediately ran outside and called the police. Meanwhile, I was taken to the interrogation room completely confused. Wasn't I just playing a game and making my teammate cry? How did I end up getting arrested? At that moment, the young police officer in front of me asked, "Why did you break into the young residence?" He suspected I had ulterior motives because of the girl's looks. After all, that girl was too beautiful. Breaking and entering? That's my house. Seeing this, the young officer took out the documents in his hand. Young man, the owner of No. 614 is a professor at Jiangshang University. He rented the room to a female student. Not to you. Hearing that, I was stunned. My cousin rented out the apartment? Why didn't he tell me? Because 2 days ago, my cousin went abroad to pursue his 4th PhD degree. With 1 day left before school started, I planned to stay overnight in the faculty apartment assigned to him. But when the girl renting the place came back and noticed movement inside her home, she quietly went out and called the police. After the misunderstanding was cleared up, I left the station. I was feeling extremely depressed. I definitely couldn't return to the apartment tonight, so I found a small hotel to make do for the night. The next day, I went to my cousin's faculty apartment and opened the door. The suitcase I left there last night was still in the living room. There was also an apology note on top. I just recently rented this place, since the landlord has already gone abroad. When I heard movement inside, I thought it was a thief. Helplessly, I stuffed the note into my bag and headed to school. After completing registration and making my bed, I decided to go out and familiarize myself with the campus. Just then, my phone started ringing. The caller was my cousin, Jiu Mingxuan. I answered the phone. Zhao Yang, don't go to the faculty apartment anymore. I've rented it out. I told him about what happened last night. He burst out laughing. That's so like him. While talking on the phone, I arrived in front of the library. When I saw the facial recognition automatic door, I fell into deep thought. Just then, a tall girl walked past me. Her clothes were slightly wet, and the white laptop bag in her hand was damp with rain stains. It was obvious she had just come in from the rain. I quickly called out to her, "Senior, could you scan your face for me?" The girl was slightly stunned. She stood in front of the facial recognition scanner. The electronic door opened the next moment. I hurried in and shyly walked into the library. The girl glanced at me in surprise. She hadn't expected that I really just wanted her to help scan her face. I was the 5th freshman to talk to her today. The first four had all asked for her contact information. Jojo, why are you walking so fast? At that moment, another girl jogged over. Her name was Su Xiaowen, the campus beauty of the finance department. The one in front of her was her best friend, named by Wanzhou, president of the Jiangshang University Student Union, and also the #1 campus beauty, known as an icy beauty. A once-in-a-decade stunning beauty in the computer science major. Su Xiaowen asked gossipingly, "By the way, what happened with that incident yesterday? Was the thief brought to justice?" Bai Wanzhou's expression didn't change. "It was just a misunderstanding. The police already explained the whole story to me." Meanwhile, I checked the time and realized I had been in the library for 2.5 hours. After packing up, I walked out of the library. It had started drizzling again outside. Luckily, I had brought an umbrella. Just then, the beautiful girl who scanned her face for me earlier behind me, the senior, also walked out, with another girl following behind her. "Jojo, should we wait until the rain stops before leaving?" "No, there are still matters with the freshmen to handle." As I walked out of the library, I heard movement behind me. I turned my head and saw that senior hurrying forward. The light drizzle had now turned into a downpour. Bai Wanzhou covered her head with both hands, but in such heavy rain, two hands were nowhere near enough. The rain soaked her clothes, outlining her figure clearly. That figure was seriously unfair. No, that's not the point. I quickly chased after her and held my umbrella over her head. "Thanks." Bai Wanzhou had a rather cold personality. She didn't even look at the boy's face. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap sounded. The hurried Bai Wanzhou froze in place. "Senior?" I noticed she stopped moving. I looked at her in confusion. So this beautiful senior was afraid of thunder. "Sorry." Bai Wanzhou, expressionless, was about to keep walking when another thunderclap struck, and she froze again. My umbrella wasn't big, and since she kept her distance from me, Half of her body was still getting wet. I looked at the nearest teaching building and asked her, "Shall we go over there and take shelter?" Wanjo silently nodded and walked under the umbrella with me. Soon, we reached the corridor on the first floor. After a long silence, I tried to say something to ease the awkwardness. "Senior, what year are you in?" "Junior year," she replied with just 2 words. "What's your major?" "Computer science." This time she answered with 3 words. "That tree looks really sturdy." Haha, an awkward atmosphere filled the air. I was really not good at dealing with girls. At 18, I hadn't even been in a single relationship. Wanjo also felt the awkwardness, so she chose to remain silent. Out of habit, I picked up my phone and opened a chat window. This was someone I had pulled into a game when I used to play with my cousin. Later I realized he was actually really good, so I took the initiative to add his contact. Whenever we had time, we'd play games and chat about daily life. You could say we were gaming buddies. I opened the keyboard and type. "Let me tell you, I'm studying right now with a senior who looks like a fairy." The next moment, Wanjo's phone buzzed. She picked it up and glanced at it, then discreetly sized me up. After that, she silently switched her phone to silent mode and replied, "How pretty, send me a picture." Isn't secretly taking a photo kind of wrong? Find a chance, idiot. Just don't let her notice. At the same time, Wanjo cooperatively turned her head, pretending to look at the scenery outside. Soon, a photo was sent to her phone. Wanjo looked at the photo of herself and fell into silence. In this world, anything can really happen. The boy she often played games with, she knew was Professor Gu's top student. Before Professor Gu went abroad, he had asked her to look after his younger brother. But she truly hadn't expected that her first meeting with Professor Gu's brother would happen under these circumstances. Wanjo felt things were a bit tricky. A cold gust of wind blew past, and I realized it was a little cold. I turned to look at the senior. She was still in the same posture as before, only her body was trembling slightly. Without hesitation, I took a jacket out of my backpack and draped it over her shoulders. The heavy rain came quickly and left quickly. After it stopped, Wanjo didn't say a word and left with a calm expression. The next day, my 3 roommates arrived one after another. After they finished settling in, we switched into casual chat mode. "Do you guys know about Jiang University's campus beauty rankings?" I casually picked up his topic. "No idea. Every college in Jiang University has its own department beauty. For example, the finance department beauty is Su Xiaowen. She ranks 4th on the campus beauty list. There are photos of senior Su on the university forum. She's really gorgeous." Wang Dechui took out his phone and pulled up Su Xiaowen's photo. I leaned in closer. When I saw the picture, my eyes widened. Not because of Su Xiaowen, but because the senior standing next to her was the very same one I ran into yesterday. Seeing this, Wang Dechui quickly snatched his phone back and stared at me like a dog guarding its food. "Leng Yang, let's make this clear first. Su, the department beauty, is mine. Don't get any ideas," I said with a look of disdain. "Give me a break. By the way, who's the girl next to Su in that photo?" Hearing that, Wang Dechui glanced at me with obvious disdain. "That one is currently Jiang University's star figure. Her name is Wanjo, but I'd advise you not to pry too much. She's a top student in computer science and has won many awards. Not only is she the student union president, she's also secured guaranteed postgraduate admission. Even with Su Xiaowen standing beside her, Su would be called the green leaf. I heard her personality is extremely cold. Countless brave souls have confessed to her, and not a single one succeeded. So, don't even think about it." Hearing this, Shen Qiao and Li Haoyang both looked shocked. "That senior is amazing. Truly outstanding." As for me, I fell into thought. So she's that impressive, but she actually doesn't have a boyfriend. That evening, under Wang Dachui's urging, our group went to the school's track field. Originally, Shen Qiao refused, because his looks, like a male celebrity, attracted far too much attention. Sure enough, the moment he appeared on the track field, he attracted the attention of all the girls there. Girls asking for his contact information came one after another. This is a bit too exaggerated, isn't it? After walking around the track twice, After Shen Qiao had rejected more than a dozen girls asking for his contact, Wang Dechui finally couldn't hold back. Are the girls on this track blind? Can't they see handsome and dashing Dechui? The three of us were speechless. Give it a rest? Meanwhile, in the girls' dorm, Su Xiaowen was scrolling on her phone and suddenly saw on Jiang University's confession wall a photo of a boy posted there. Su Xiaowen focused her eyes and double-tapped to enlarge the handsome guy in the photo. She examined it carefully again and again. Then her eyes lit up. A flawless male god from every angle. The one in the photo was naturally Shen Qiao. Jojo, come take a look. When did our school get such a handsome guy? Beside her, a girl wearing a spaghetti strap dress and big black framed glasses was reading Sherlock Holmes. That cold face, paired with a pair of cute big black framed glasses, created an indescribable contrast of beauty. With a unique charm, Bai Wanzhou ignored Su Xiaowen. She had no interest in men. None at all. Jojo, come take a look. He's really handsome. What if you actually like him? We can't really stay single forever. Without ever finding a boyfriend, right? Su Xiaowen held the phone in front of Bai Wanzhou. Bai Wanzhou glanced at it perfunctorily. Suddenly, she froze, her eyes fixed straight on the photo. Su Xiaowen looked as if she had witnessed something unbelievable. She stared at Bai Wanzhou in disbelief. Although she had intended to share a good guy with her best friend, she had never expected Bai Wanzhou to be interested. Bai Wanzhou looking at a man? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Bai Wanzhou's gaze shifted and soon returned to the book, as if nothing had happened. Jojo, stop pretending. Are you interested in men now? Su Xiaowen grabbed Bai Wanzhou's arm. So excited, she said, don't pretend. Keep pretending. Is the Ice Queen finally welcoming her spring? Su Xiaowen felt like she had discovered a huge secret. She looked again at Shen Qiao on her phone. Maybe because he was too dazzling, many people hadn't noticed. The boy standing next to Shen Qiao in the photo, who was also handsome. After applying her face mask, Su Xiaowen went to wash her face and suddenly noticed a men's jacket in the laundry basket beside her, a men's jacket in the girls' dorm. Su Xiaowen looked shocked, because that laundry basket belonged to Bai Wanzhou. Although Bai Wanzhou had rented a place off campus, she hadn't moved all her belongings yet. Jojo, her voice rose several pitches higher. Coming from the bathroom, Bai Wanzhou's hem paused slightly. She suddenly remembered the jacket hadn't been washed. But it wasn't a big deal. Su Xiaowen was naive and easy to brush off. Su Xiaowen walked out and questioned, Jojo, whose men's jacket is that? Bai Wanzhou replied calmly, guess. Su Xiaowen's curiosity was through the roof, but Bai Wanzhou's attitude drove her crazy. Tell me already. I bought it myself. I don't believe you. Believe it or not. Su Xiaowen felt frustrated, but there was nothing she could do. The next day, after a full day of military training, the evening performance segment began. I rested my chin on my hand to the side, watching intently the boy singing on stage. The scene of that day, when I took shelter from the rain with that fairy-like senior, flashed through my mind. After the boy on stage finished singing, I stepped forward and took the microphone. Wang Dechui, who had been chatting animatedly, was stunned. You can sing too. A song called Rainy Day for Everyone. After taking a deep breath, I began softly. Listening to the melodious singing, everyone present was captivated. Jojo, this year's freshmen are truly full of hidden talents. Su Xiaowen held up her phone in front of Bai Wanzhou. In the video, a handsome boy was singing. Hearing that magnetic voice, Bai Wanzhou glanced at the boy on the screen. Seeing that Bai Wanzhou was really listening, Su Xiaowen said proudly, See, Jojo, even if you're an ice goddess, you can't possibly dislike good singing, and this boy who's singing is pretty handsome too. But only Bai Wanzhou knew what the song I was singing meant. Bai Wanzhou slowly recalled what happened that day. Before we knew it, the half-month-long military training finally ended. to celebrate the start of university life. Our dorm went out for dinner and got completely drunk. It was already 8 p.m. when we returned to campus. Walking at the back, I suddenly needed the restroom, so I headed toward the teaching building. At the entrance, Bai Wanzhou was carrying her bag, walking out alone. "Senior, this is," a slightly familiar voice sounded by Bai Wanzhou's ear. She turned her head and saw me standing there awkwardly. I want to go to the restroom, but I don't know where it is." Bai Wanzhou pointed in a direction and said calmly, "Turn right after entering and keep walking. That's the restroom." "Thank you, senior." Watching my unsteady back, Bai Wanzhou tilted her head. "So, you don't stutter when saying thank you, senior?" After I came out of the restroom, I showed a puzzled expression. I think I just saw the fairy-like senior and even talked to her. Maybe it was just an illusion. I was completely confused, not fully sober yet. I shook my head and walked out of the teaching building. As soon as I stepped out, I saw a stunning figure standing at the entrance. It really was the fairy-like senior. I froze on the spot at a loss. Seeing my reaction, Bai Wanzhou found this junior kind of cute. Drank alcohol. Bai Wanzhou took off her white jacket and draped it over me. After removing the jacket, her golden blue dress underneath was revealed. She looked like a fairy descending to earth. I swear the fairy-like senior before me was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. "I didn't bring your black jacket, so you don't need to return this one. Just treat it as compensation." She had just finished evening self-study and changed into the dress in the building restroom. She just hadn't expected that the first person to see her in the dress would be this junior. After muttering a few words in her heart, she turned and left, leaving me only her graceful back. The next day, I woke up in my dorm bed, with half-open, sleepy eyes scanning the room. Awake, Shen Qiao, who was gaming, said. He was the only one in the dorm who was up. The other two were still asleep. Luckily, we had no class this morning. Otherwise, they would have skipped the first class of the semester. I was about to get out of bed when I noticed among the pile of clothes a white jacket that wasn't mine. A faint fragrance drifted from it. This was a girl's jacket. I seemed to remember something, yet also remembered nothing. Yesterday, when we got back, you were gone. Not long after, when you returned, you were wearing an extra jacket. You were even grinning like an idiot. You kept mumbling about some fairy-like senior. You almost scared me to death. After hearing Shen Qiao's explanation, I suddenly understood. So yesterday wasn't a dream. The jacket in my hands was given by the fairy-like senior. Excited, delighted, shocked, honored. I didn't know what words to use to describe how I felt at that moment. I held the white jacket as if it were a priceless treasure. Seeing me like this, Shen Qiao showed a look of disdain. Hey, still young. Looks like you've never been in love. I ignored him, washed up, and got ready for class. After classes in the afternoon, Wang Dechui dragged me to the welcome party. As for the other two, Shen Qiao didn't dare come, afraid of being surrounded by girls, and Li Haoyang said he had something to do. No idea where he went. 2.5 hours later, the welcome party came to a successful end. Many people were getting ready to leave, but the host didn't say the closing remarks. Dear freshmen, our welcome party actually has a hidden program, saved for the very end. Next, let's invite our special guest to perform a song. Everyone quickly sat back down. Then a pleasant melody began to play. A spotlight shone at the center of the stage. Right there, a fairy-like girl was holding a microphone. Standing there, it was Bai Wanzhou from the computer science department. Thunderous applause erupted, even drowning out her singing. Looking at the fairy-like senior on stage, adored by everyone, I felt both surprise and an indescribable ache in my heart. Only then did I realize that the fairy-like senior was just how popular she was at this university. Someone like her isn't someone a freshman like me could ever hope to reach. For me to have light encounters with the fairy-like senior was already something others couldn't earn even in 8 lifetimes. Wang Dechui glanced at my expression, then shifted his gaze back to the stage. After finishing her performance, Bai Wanzhou turned to leave. At that moment, a strange voice rang out from the audience. Goddess Sue. I widened my eyes and looked at Wanda Chewy beside me. That move truly stunned me. Why did he suddenly stand up? What was he trying to do? Wanda Chewy gave me a mysterious smile, then shouted toward the stage, Senior. A few days ago, a freshman sang Rainy Day. What did you think of it? Bai Wanzhou looked in his direction and almost instantly noticed me sitting beside him. She quietly took the microphone back from the host. Not bad. Wanda Chewy grinned and shouted even louder. He's right next to me. We want to see you duet with him. The moment he said that, everyone including me was stunned. Bai Wanzhou stood on stage expressionless and calmly said, Sure. Wanda Chewy forcibly pulled me to my feet, and I could only brace myself and walk onto the stage. Bai Wanzhou's voice carried a hint of coolness. What song can you sing? Anything is fine, she thought to herself with a faint smile. Since it's a male-female duet, let's sing a little sweet. Wanda Chewy was the first to cheer and clap. Soon countless audience members joined in as the accompaniment began. I closed my eyes, and scenes of meeting. The fairy-like senior filled my mind. When I opened my eyes again, a trace of tenderness appeared in them. Since it's a love song, I should sing it with full immersion. Seeing the tenderness in my eyes, looks like this junior really does have some singing skills. The two of us began to duet. Bai Wanzhou's expression remained unchanged, but compared to before, her eyes were no longer so cold. When the song ended, the audience erupted into even more enthusiastic applause. After the party was over, Wanda Chewy put his arm around my shoulder and said, So, I fought for this opportunity for you. Aren't you going to show some appreciation? I smiled and said, Of course. How about I buy you breakfast for a week, Brother Chewy? Wanda Chewy laughed. A week not enough. 2 weeks at most, deal. Seeing his triumphant expression, my face darkened. I felt like I'd been tricked. But thinking about how he stood up earlier at the party, my heart warmed again. Even though Wanda Chewy usually acts carefree when it really mattered, he didn't mess things up at all. After returning to the dorm, I had just taken out my phone when I received an invitation from my gaming buddy Hot Pot Lover. Seeing that their location was also Jiangshang University, I was slightly surprised. Could it be someone my cousin had pulled in from work? Thinking of that, I quickly typed, Hello, teacher. When Bai Wanzhou saw that message, she almost burst out laughing. I'm a student, okay. Jiu Mingxuan actually dragged his own student into gaming back then. Doesn't his conscience hurt as a teacher? I found typing troublesome, so I directly turned on my microphone. Hello. Unexpectedly, the other side didn't turn on their mic and exited the team interface instead. Meanwhile, in the girls' dorm, Bai Wanzhou was startled by my voice and quickly exited the game. She never turns on her mic while gaming, because online, she's extremely cautious. So all this time, I've been the only gaming friend she has. And that young, tender face, her expression paused slightly. A faint smile unconsciously appeared at the corner of her lips. Nighttime. I tossed and turned in my bed, unable to fall asleep. So, I opened the chat interface and sent a message to Hot Pot Lover. Are you a senior? After receiving her affirmative reply, I finally understood. The 2 girls my cousin invited into the game back then were most likely his students. But my cousin teaches computer science. Could this senior also be a computer science major? Thinking of this, I sent another message. Do you know Senior Bai Wanzhou? Seeing this, a trace of mischievous amusement suddenly rose in Bai Wanzhou's heart. She didn't expect Professor Gu's younger brother, the boy who dominated the game, would be so shy and innocent in real life. She replied, I know her. We're quite close. I was slightly stunned. After getting that answer, I suddenly didn't know what to say. I even felt a bit nervous, seeing that I didn't reply for a long time. Bai Wanzhou crossed her legs, and after a moment, took the initiative to ask, What's wrong? Do you have a crush on her? My face turned red. After 3 minutes of silence, I replied, No. A faint smile curved at the corner of Bai Wanzhou's lips. With his looks, he has all kinds of admirers, but such an innocent junior was a first for her. Senior, what's your name? After thinking for a moment, Bai Wanzhou sent a name over. Su Xiaowen. Back then, Jiu Mingxuan, one of the girls he invited into the game, was called Su Xiaowen, so using this name at the moment was perfectly reasonable. As for that, Su Xiaowen was Hammer Bro's dream girl. So I sent another message. Senior, my roommate likes you. Seeing this, Bai Wanzhou's lips twitched. Who chats with a girl like that? Before we knew it, the two of us had already chatted late into the night. During that time, I kept asking about Bai Wanzhou, but by the end of the conversation, I couldn't even bring myself to ask for her WeChat. Bai Wanzhou seemed to sense what I was thinking. She smiled slightly and typed in the name of Su Xiaowen. I'm close with her. I'll push her contact to you. Then, Bai Wanzhou sent her own WeChat to him. Since she had agreed to look after Professor Gu's younger brother, adding him on WeChat wasn't a big deal. But I was just too sleepy and drifted off without realizing it. Bai Wanzhou noticed that no one had added her WeChat, and there was no reply on QQ either. She immediately frowned, thinking to herself about 1,000 possible reasons why he hadn't replied. The next morning, when I woke up, seeing the message from Senior Su Xiaowen, I was instantly wide awake. What should I do? Add her or not? But the fairy-like senior probably doesn't even know me yet. How should I introduce myself? Should I say I'm the guy who sang with you at the freshman welcome party? Or say that on the first day of school, I was the one who took shelter from the rain with you? After hesitating for a while, I finally decided to send the friend request. And in the note, I simply wrote my own name. On the other side, Bai Wanzhou had just woken up and checked her phone when she saw a friend request. Seeing the name Lang Yang in the note, she felt speechless. Who adds a girl like that? Without hesitation, she accepted the request. That night, Bai Wanzhou returned to the dorm to tidy up her daily items. Now only she and Su Xiaowen were in the dorm. The other two roommates, one started a business and one was interning. Neither was at school. Su Xiaowen came from a wealthy family, so she was still taking it easy. After finishing up, Bai Wanzhou rested her chin on her hands and began a daydream. Come to think of it, that little stutterer, after I added him, hasn't sent a single message until now. You were the one who added me, and now I'm supposed to message first? She opened the chat window and asked, Excuse me, are you the one who saw my message? I replied, I'm Lang Yang. It felt a bit too formal. Thinking of the fairy-like senior at Jiang University, I added, I'm your fan. Bai Wanzhou curled her lips slightly. I'm not a celebrity. I don't need fans. Seeing that, my heart skipped a beat. Don't need fans? Does that mean she doesn't need me? Would she delete me? I had no idea how to respond next, seeing that he hadn't replied for a while. She wondered, did that comment scare the little stutterer? The next moment, she received a WeChat chat screenshot with a message attached, Senior Su. I'm doomed. Bai Wanzhou couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. What? What happened? Su Xiaowen, who was gaming, heard the sound and looked over. Jojo, what's going on? You're grinning at your phone screen. Have you been acting strange lately? Su Xiaowen stood behind Bai Wanzhou. She couldn't even keep playing her game. It's already junior year. Jojo, don't tell me your iron tree is finally blooming? Guess. Bai Wanzhou smiled mysteriously. Seeing her roommate's expression, Su Xiaowen put down her phone and shouted, Something's up. Something big. Her curiosity was overflowing. Su Xiaowen was about to lose her mind, but Bai Wanzhou ignored her. Instead, posing as Su Xiaowen, she messaged me. Bai Wanzhou is just like that. If she accepted your friend request, it means she's willing to know you. Really, I'm her roommate. I know her very well. Every word is sincere. Not a single lie. Soon, a new message from me popped up on her WeChat. Senior, if you're tired from work, I can carry you in games. The guaranteed win kind. I honestly didn't expect her to reply, but she actually responded with okay. As for why I said that, it was all thanks to what Su Xiaowen told me. She said she often saw Bai Wanzhou playing games in the dorm, and that she always queued solo and kept losing. No one would play with her. Thanks to Senior Su Xiaowen for the intel in the dorm. Meanwhile, in the dorm, Su Xiaowen suddenly sneezed. That's weird. Is someone thinking about me lately? Soon, the word defeat appeared in big letters on her screen. Lost again. Su Xiaowen felt like smashing her phone. Bai Wanzhou looked at her in her exasperated state and said, When? Are you playing games later? If you're not, lend me your account to play for a bit. Of course you can. Su Xiaowen had been on a losing streak all day. No way she turned down free boosting. After that, Bai Wanzhou sent over Su Xiaowen's game account. The username was My Chest is Big. Suit yourself. Seeing that name, I fell into deep thought. That fairy-like senior was really full of contrast in the game. She actually chose a name like that. Bai Wanzhou blushed at the sight of the name and couldn't help but complain to Su Xiaowen. Shameless. Su Xiaowen looked completely confused. Then she puffed out her full chest and asked in confusion, Why are you scolding me? I've always used this name. Why didn't you have a problem with it before? Then she noticed Bai Wanzhou's team interface had the people in it, but she didn't think much of it. After all, Bai Wanzhou, besides her as her close roommate at Jiangsheng Medical University, she also had a close friend studying medicine, and Bai Wanzhou had put on her headset and turned on her mic to direct the game. Su Xiaowen was basically certain she was playing with her best friend. They played 5 matches that night and only lost 1. I sighed. Senior really isn't bad at gaming. Not like what Xiaowen said. Hearing the voice in the headset, Bai Wanzhou softly replied, I'm not bad. Much better than Su Xiaowen. Su Xiaowen, who was scrolling videos nearby, suddenly heard her name called. She sat up and waved her arms dramatically. Jojo, I feel like you're insulting me. Although the fairy-like senior spoke in a cool tone, she replied seriously to every single thing I said. Did that mean I was her friend now? So I thought to myself, should I invite the fairy-like senior out for a meal? With that thought, I opened the chat interface with Su Xiaowen. Senior Su, if I asked Sister Baixu out to dinner, would she agree? Seeing the message, Bai Wanzhou fell into thought. She agree. I asked again, but would it be inappropriate for a guy and a girl to meet alone? A moment later, Bai Wanzhou replied, We won't be meeting alone. I'll be with Jojo this weekend. But you're not allowed to bring any friends. Jojo set the rule. Alright. Soon enough, the weekend arrived. I dressed up carefully and went to the school gate. I sent a message to Su Xiaowen, but got no reply. Then I messaged Bai Wanzhou, and she didn't reply either. What's going on? Could this be the legendary stood up? But suddenly I heard a beep beside my ear. A pink 4-wheeled car stopped in front of me. Just as I was feeling puzzled, Love Eating Hot Pot replied, Get in. I stared in surprise at the pink little car in front of me, secretly thinking, this must be Senior Su's car. No wonder she didn't reply. She was driving. Feeling nervous, I opened the car door. But there was only one person inside, Bai Wanzhou sitting in the driver's seat. I immediately became nervous. Stuttering, I said, Be by Senior. Where is Senior Su? She had something to do, but didn't want to stand you up, so she asked me to come instead. Hearing that, I couldn't help but silently give Su Xiaowen a thumbs up. Thank you, Senior Xiaowen. At that moment, a certain woman surnamed Su sneezed in the girls' dorm. Bai Wanzhou glanced at the boy beside her and secretly let out a sigh of relief. Looks like the junior still hasn't noticed, even though Su Xiaowen wasn't in the car. The one who had just messaged him was Love Eating Hot Pot. Soon, the car started moving. Bai Wanzhou's gaze shifted between the road ahead and the side mirrors. Seeing this, I nervously asked as Senior. I just got my driver's license last week. This is my first time driving on the road. Hearing that, the corner of my mouth twitched. If it weren't for the fairy-like Senior driving, I would have immediately shouted to get out of the car. Senior Bai, how about I drive instead? She pulled the car over to the roadside, opened the door, and walked around the front of the car, stopping at the passenger side door. I hesitated before opening the door and stepping out. Bai Wanzhou quickly got into the passenger seat and fastened her seatbelt. Her movements were clean and decisive, almost as if she had fled the driver's seat. The moment I finished speaking, after I got into the driver's seat, there were faint damp handprints on the steering wheel. As expected, they were probably from nervous sweat. The fairy-like Senior had driven from the dormitory area all the way to the school gate. She must have been tense the entire way. No wonder she switched seats so decisively. Soon, following the navigation, I arrived at a park. I looked around in confusion. Senior, why are we here? Bai Wanzhou glanced at me. It's only 3 p.m. If we don't find somewhere to pass the time, are we supposed to go straight to dinner? Then, she asked, you usually stutter when you talk. No. I finally snapped out of it. No. It's just my first time going out alone. With a girl. So I'm a bit nervous. Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou said nothing. Haha, still a little boy who hasn't had much contact with girls. Just like that, the two of us walked side by side in the park. I recalled the first time I saw the fairy-like senior. It was on the first day of school. Only now had we finally added each other on WeChat. Of course, I didn't know that Bai Wanzhou had once sent me to Orange. After nearly walking around the entire park, Bai Wanzhou took me to an afternoon tea cafe. After ordering 2 cups of coffee, she took a Sherlock Holmes detective novel out of her bag and began reading. The afternoon passed quietly. Dusk was approaching. Bai Wanzhou closed the book. Meanwhile, I had already fallen asleep with my head on the table. This little stutterer was clearly bored to death, yet he stubbornly didn't say a single word, and in the end, just dozed off on the table. Bai Wanzhou didn't wake me. A mischievous thought suddenly popped into her mind. She took out her phone and snapped a photo of my sleeping face. Looking at the picture, Bai Wanzhou muttered, not bad looking at all. Then she sent the photo to Jiu Mingxuan, who was overseas. Soon he replied with a question mark, my dear disciple. Why is my little brother asleep in front of you? I told you to look after him. You're not trying to hit on him, are you? Reading that reply, Bai Wanzhou fell silent. Then she closed the chat window. She looked at the pure little snow butterfly in front of her and revealed a thoughtful expression. Hit on him? Teasing this little thing might actually be quite interesting. Not long after, I slowly opened my eyes gradually. Bai Wanzhou calmly said, you're awake. Let's go. I'll treat you to dinner. After driving a few streets, the car stopped in front of a barbecue restaurant. When the owner saw Bai Wanzhou, she warmly came forward. Jojo, long time no see. Just started school again? Sister Joe's been busy with the new students lately. Bai Wanzhou wasn't cold toward this Annie at all, and it wasn't hard to tell she was a regular here. When the owner noticed me, her eyes lit up. Is this young man here with Jojo? I nodded shyly. The owner smiled and said, Jojo usually comes alone, or occasionally with another girl. This is the first time she's brought a boy here. Hearing that, my face turned red. I smiled awkwardly. After sitting down, Bai Wanzhou asked if I wanted to drink. I quickly shook my head. It was our first time meeting for dinner. How could I dare drink? Besides, if I drank, that would mean Senior would have to drive, making her drive such a long distance. I wouldn't even dare imagine it. Maybe it was because I was nervous, but I kept burning the meat while grilling. In the end, Bai Wanzhou couldn't help but grill for me. Watching me quickly finish all the meat on my plate, a hint of satisfaction appeared on her usually cold face. What was this feeling? Why did she feel such a sense of fulfillment from feeding someone? She even had the sudden thought of cooking for Lang Yang someday. Wait, that's not right. Why would she think that? Seeing how I looked right now, Bai Wanzhou secretly took another photo of me and sent it to her teacher. Jiu Mingxuan instantly replied with 3 question marks. Zhao Yang is actually eating with you. Bai Wanzhou showed a cool expression and replied, what do you mean? I'm the cold one, remember? Didn't you get that backwards? Then, Jiu Mingxuan replied, you're not seriously trying to hit on my brother, are you? If so, you've picked the right one. I can vouch for Zhao Yang's character. After dinner, I drove Senior back to the dormitory building. Looking around, I said in surprise, Senior, you live in the faculty housing too. Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou hesitated for a moment and said lightly, I live in 614 of this building. The room number felt somewhat familiar, but I didn't think much of it at the time. After all, I had only been there once and hadn't memorized my cousin's address. Plus, after half a month of military training, I had long forgotten it. After saying goodbye to Senior, I returned to the dorm. Early the next morning, I ran into Senior while she was jogging on the track. At her invitation, we ran a few laps around the field together. After finishing the run, Bai Wanzhou turned and left. Walking toward the 3rd cafeteria, a conflicted expression appeared on my face, wondering whether I should catch up to the fairy-like Senior and have breakfast with her. But wouldn't that be too shameless of me? In the end, I headed toward the first cafeteria instead. Bai Wanzhou turned around and noticed I wasn't behind her. Instead, I was walking in the opposite direction. She froze for a moment. For some reason, a sudden urge to go to the first cafeteria rose in her heart. It had indeed been a long time since she ate there. Going once in a while wouldn't hurt. The food at the first cafeteria tastes better than the third. The serving annies there are gentler. It's cheaper too. A whole list of reasons appeared in Bai Wanzhou's mind. Going to the first cafeteria suddenly seemed perfectly justified. With that thought, she turned around and walked toward the first cafeteria as well. In reality, though, aside from being cheap, it had no advantages at all. Meanwhile, after I bought my breakfast and sat down, more than half the boys in the cafeteria suddenly looked toward the entrance. Isn't that Bai Wanzhou, the campus belle? Why would she come to the first cafeteria? But Bai Wanzhou ignored the stares around her and found where I was sitting, walking straight over to sit down across from me. Seeing this scene, everyone in the cafeteria showed shocked expressions. One boy awkwardly sat down next to Bai Wanzhou. She frowned slightly, and a cold aura radiated from her. The boy beside her felt the pressure, and even I lowered my head. Not daring to look at her, the boy quickly finished his food and left. The moment he walked away, the pressure in the air suddenly disappeared. Unfortunately, I had already finished eating as well. I wiped my mouth and carefully said, "Senior, if I left at this moment, wouldn't she have to eat alone in the first cafeteria?" I gave an awkward smile and stayed in my seat, waiting for her to finish. A few minutes later, Bai Wanzhou wiped her mouth, glanced at me, said nothing, and walked away. Just before stepping out of the cafeteria, she suddenly stopped, slightly turning her head in my direction. The corners of her lips curved faintly, as if she smiled. At that moment, I finally realized what feeling I had been missing all along. It was that moment of turning back, when I was chasing someone's retreating figure, and they turned around to see who was behind them, to realize that someone had always been there. From one person's one-way pursuit to people moving toward each other. That afternoon, my 3 roommates and I went to the club recruitment fair. As the president of the Hanfu Club, Bai Wanzhou was naturally present. When I saw the fairy-like senior, I ultimately chose to join the Hanfu Club. Just after I finished filling out the form, Zhu Xiaowen arrived and walked toward Bai Wanzhou. When I saw Senior Su, I remembered how much she had helped me before, so I decided to go thank her. I waved my hand and called out, "Senior Su, are you calling me?" As soon as she spoke, Bai Wanzhou suddenly grabbed Su Xiaowen's phone and hurriedly pulled her away. Su Xiaowen hadn't even reacted yet, asking as she was dragged along, What's going on? Is it the end of the world?" "Yes, it's the end. We need to run." Bai Wanzhou rarely made jokes like that, but this time, in a moment of urgency, she actually went along with Su Xiaowen's words. Meanwhile, I stood there completely confused. University clubs hold a gathering for freshmen every year, and the Hanfu Club has a rule. Those who don't attend the gathering would basically be removed afterward. To attend this gathering, I carefully selected several sets of Hanfu. I posted the photos on my moments. After looking at my photos, Bai Wanzhou thought about tomorrow's club gathering. Originally, she didn't plan to attend, but now she took out her phone and sent a message to the vice president. "I'll attend tomorrow's gathering as well. Remember to count one more spot." After sending it, she walked into the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror, and touched her face. Thinking about her recent behavior, she couldn't help but wonder, have I completely lost my senses? The next day, after I went out, I received a message from the fairy-like senior. "My car keys are still with you. Come to the faculty apartment for the gathering. I'll send you the address." Seeing the message, I understood what she meant. She wanted me to drive her there. Soon, I arrived at the faculty apartment. Bai Wanzhou was already standing by the car. Seeing that I hadn't changed yet, she said lightly, "Go home and change first." She had originally wanted to say go to my place, but remembering that Jiu Mingxuan was this junior's brother, she couldn't quite say it. After all, this wasn't really her home. If anything, it was the junior's home. I was also curious about what she had just said. When we arrived at the door of 614, and I saw the familiar surroundings, I was suddenly startled. "Senior, Why you? I stammered incoherently. Bai Wanzhou was also slightly stunned. Did he not know that she was living in Jiyu Mingxuan's apartment, thinking about how she had sent this junior to Orange before school even started? Even the iceberg goddess couldn't help but show a trace of embarrassment. Fortunately, we both understood without words. Neither of us brought up what happened before. After arriving at the gathering venue, because I'm fairly good-looking, quite a few girls came over to ask for my WeChat. I scratched my hair and thought about how Shang Qiao rejected people before. So I copied him and said, I already have a girlfriend. Hearing that answer, every girl who came to ask for my WeChat left disappointed. Although Bai Wanzhou kept looking at her phone, she was watching me from the corner of her eye. Seeing all the girls return empty-handed, for some reason, she let out a quiet sigh of relief. Deep down, she felt her decision to attend the gathering was the right one. If she hadn't come, would this junior have added all of them? It had to be said, women's imagination is truly rich. The vice president nearby was completely stunned seeing Bai Wanzhou like this. When had the iceberg goddess ever shown such an expression? He had almost never seen her zone out. But now she not only seemed distracted, she even looked angry. Next, everyone would give a self-introduction. Soon, it was my turn. I stood up and subconsciously glanced at Bai Wanzhou, only to find the fairy-like senior looking at me as well. In the quiet hall, our eyes met across the room by coincidence. The next moment, my face flushed and I quickly lowered my head, while Bai Wanzhou slightly turned away to hide herself. The vice president clearly caught this scene, a silent smile appearing on his face. I stood at attention and said seriously, my name is Lang Yang. I'm a freshman. My hobby is playing video games. I just turned 18. Next, Bai Wanzhou suddenly said. It was the first sentence she had spoken at the gathering, and it directly cut off my introduction. Everyone present turned to look at her. Their first thought was that Bai Wanzhou didn't like Lang Yang, which was why she interrupted him. I thought the same. Showed a slightly dejected expression. Bai Wanzhou still wore a blank expression, but her heart was far from calm. She simply felt that if Lang Yang kept talking, wouldn't he be exposing all his privacy? Even mentioning his birthday, she herself didn't even know it. Why should others know? After the gathering ended, everyone went home, while I remained sitting in my seat. Looking somewhat absent-minded, Bai Wanzhou walked over and said lightly, let's go. I didn't seem to know what to say, but still forced a smile, and walked toward the parking lot. After returning to the faculty apartment, I took out the car keys and handed them to her. Bai Wanzhou didn't reach out to take them, but instead asked, your birthday? I looked confused. You didn't finish your introduction. When is your birthday? Bai Wanzhou said seriously. Oh, October 6th. Isn't that coming up soon? Bai Wanzhou nodded and added, in future introductions, you don't need to reveal everything about yourself. Okay, looking at me, Bai Wanzhou asked again, is there anything else you want to include? Hearing that, I looked at the fairy-like senior and asked in confusion, didn't you just say not to reveal everything? Hearing this, Bai Wanzhou blinked her long lashes, though her icy face showed no expression. For some reason, I sensed the faintest trace of a smile. This time doesn't count for Bai Wanzhou. Those words were extremely difficult to say. To say something like that, she had already gathered a great deal of courage. After that, I gave my introduction again, but I kept the person I liked buried in my heart. The one I like is the fairy-like senior. She then turned to leave the parking lot. After taking 2 steps, she suddenly turned back. Why are you standing there? Aren't you going upstairs to change? Hearing that, I stuffed the car keys into my bag and followed behind her. Once again, we arrived at 614. I carefully looked around the room. That Jiyu Mingxuan had left for me, although I had come once the day before school started. That time I had only come in to play a game. and hadn't really gotten familiar with it. After I opened the bedroom door, I found the fairy-like senior already busy in the kitchen. I hadn't expected her to be not only beautiful, but also talented, so capable and virtuous at home as well. Graceful in the hall, skillful in the kitchen. Looking at the pot, I realized there was clearly too much for her to finish alone. Obviously, she had made enough for the people. Thinking of that, I volunteered, patting my chest. "Senior, let me help you." Bai Wanzhou paused for a moment, remembering how during the barbecue, I couldn't even grill pork belly properly. She immediately blocked me from coming closer. "No need." Soon, Bai Wanzhou finished cooking 2 dishes and a soup. Though the meal wasn't particularly lavish, her cooking skills were excellent. I took a bite of the food she made, and my eyes instantly lit up. Delicious. Hearing the affirmation, Bai Wanzhou felt relieved inside, a sense of fulfillment filling her heart, and she began eating as well. After dinner, I washed the dishes, and then left to return to school. After I left, Bai Wanzhou sat at the table, looking at the empty living room before her. A trace of confusion appeared in her eyes. What was this feeling? Why did it feel so empty? As soon as he left? Clearly, he had only stayed here for a little over an hour. And lately, they seemed to be seeing each other more and more often. Thinking of this, Bai Wanzhou shook her head. Although she might indeed, she had begun to develop feelings for this junior, but she still had to keep her composure. On the way back to school, I called Jiyu Mingxuan. "Bro, I want to ask you something. Did you rent your apartment to Senior Bai?" Jiyu Mingxuan's laughter came through the phone. "What's wrong? Bai Wanzhou is my student. I'm not there. So what's the problem with renting it to her?" "No problem. But the dorm doesn't have air conditioning. If I don't stay in the dorm, where am I supposed to live? National Day break is coming up. Where am I supposed to stay?" "You still don't get it. Little bro, go win over Bai Wanzhou. Whether you can live there or not depends on whether you can make her your girlfriend. Come on, little bro. I won't be back for at least half a year. Hopefully by then I'll have a nephew." Hearing that, I was completely stunned. A nephew in half a year. "But little bro, you're not going home for the holiday, but your crush will definitely go back. Don't say I didn't warn you. You should pay more attention to her lately." Hearing something related to the fairy-like senior, I immediately became serious. What's wrong with her? There are quite a few rumors about her back home. But knowing you, even if I didn't say anything, you'd still care about her. After saying that, he hung up. The next day, Bai Wanzhou sent me a message. "I don't really want to go home." I typed back, "Then don't go if you don't want to. My mother's health isn't good." Seeing that reply, I finally understood why she went home every holiday. No wonder she stayed up late every day, taking on computer-related jobs online to earn money. Not long after, Bai Wanzhou sent a few more messages. "I bought a ticket. I'm leaving tomorrow. After I leave, you can stay at the faculty apartment." I looked thoughtfully at these messages. Jiyu Mingxuan had said on the phone that there were many rumors about the fairy-like senior back home. So, she didn't really want to go back. Every time she returned, she had to endure for no reason. The gossip of relatives and friends. Thinking of this, I replied with a simple okay. Then quietly began searching online for tickets to her hometown. Meanwhile, Bai Wanzhou had already booked her ticket home. If not for her mother being there, she wouldn't have wanted to return at all. Her parents' relationship wasn't good. Her mother was in poor health and needed care, but her father had never taken care of her. He even resorted to hitting and cursing, and he couldn't stand his own daughter either. The next day, in Hangzhou, Bai Wanzhou skillfully made her way back to her home's door. Looking at the door in front of her, she hesitated for a moment before inserting the key into the lock, but soon she froze. The key wouldn't open her own home. Confused, she called her mother on her phone, but the call didn't go through. Finally, she learned from the neighbor across the hall that her parents' relationship had worsened. Her uncle, worried, had taken her mother away. Recently, they seemed to be discussing divorce. Hearing this, Bai Wanzhou showed no sign of surprise. She felt they should have divorced long ago, but her mother's poor health made her afraid of burdening her daughter after a divorce. So she had endured it. Now, she could no longer hold on. Just then, Bai Wanzhou's father staggered back drunk, muttering insults about her mother. Bai Wanzhou finally couldn't take it anymore. She rushed forward and slapped Bai Chongqing, clutching his face. Bai Chongqing sobered slightly. He looked at the girl before him, his expression twisting. And then he swung his arm. He slapped Bai Wanzhou across the face as well. Her gaze dimmed slightly, and she lost the last trace of hope she had for her father. Bai Chongqing, who had just slapped his own daughter, instantly sobered up. He looked at his own palm, with a hint of regret in his eyes. "Jojo, that's enough," Bai Wanzhou spoke, her tone extremely cold. She turned and left, without saying another word. After leaving the neighborhood, Bai Wanzhou sat on the steps at the entrance. Looking at the place where she had grown up, she suddenly felt nothing but unfamiliarity. For some reason, she now felt a little. Not just a little. She desperately wanted to return to school. She wanted to see someone there. Speaking of which, by this time, Senior should have arrived home already, right? I took out my phone and sent the fairy-like Senior a message. "Senior, did you get home?" Soon, the message notification sounded. Almost an instant reply. "Not yet. Have you eaten?" "No." "What do you feel like eating? I can order takeout for you." "Don't want to eat, is it because you don't have an appetite?" "I don't know." I froze slightly, although every reply from her sounded cold. Each one came almost instantly. That was contradictory. If she didn't want to talk to me, she could have simply ignored my messages, but she replied just coldly. Could it be that she was hinting that she was in a bad mood? I recalled what Jiu Mingxuan had warned me about before the holiday. Thinking of that, I began typing. "Senior, your home is in Hangzhou, right?" I remember Hangzhou has Lingyan Temple. She gave a brief confirmation. "Yes." "Senior, do you want to go draw a fortune stick? Maybe all the bad things will leave on their own." When I mentioned drawing lots, I was actually planning to go too. But after all, it's a 7-day holiday. There will probably be a huge crowd at Lingyan Temple. After seeing my message, Bai Wanzhou's expression turned a little fierce. The way this junior texted, why did it feel like he was coaxing a child? Humph. Bai Wanzhou tapped on my profile picture on her phone screen. "You little brat, believe it or not, I'll knock your head." Still, she had never tried praying for a blessing before. Would that really work? She hoped her mother would stay healthy and happy. Just then, her mother replied. She said she was back at their rural hometown with her uncle, and told Bai Wanzhou to visit if she had time. There was no rush. Before heading home, Bai Wanzhou decided to go to Lingyan Temple to pray for a safety charm for her mother. Thinking of this, Bai Wanzhou stood up. By the time she arrived at Lingyan Temple, it was already 6 p.m. The temple had already closed. She quietly sat on the steps at the entrance, looking somewhat lost. Was it destined that she wouldn't be able to draw this fortune? Bai Wanzhou stared silently at the ground, as if her soul had drifted away. At this moment, she no longer carried the aura of an aloof ice queen goddess, but rather looked like a fragile young girl. Suddenly, a figure stood before her. "Amitabha, benefactor, what troubles you? Would you care to share it with this humble monk?" A somewhat familiar voice reached her ears. Bai Wanzhou looked up and saw a handsome, sunny-looking boy, smiling gently at her. The moment she saw that face, a wave of emotion surged through her. Bai Wanzhou couldn't find words to describe the feeling. She only felt her nose sting. If she hadn't forced herself to hold back, tears would have already fallen. Though many questions arose in her mind, the most important thing was, this trip had not been in vain. She had received the best fortune in the world. "What are you doing here?" Bai Wanzhou asked. "I was a little late." I handed the milk tea in my hand to Bai Wanzhou. I had accidentally seen that Senior Fairy was here earlier, so I took some time to buy a cup of milk tea before coming back. When I saw the clear handprint on her face, I already understood in my heart, but I didn't ask anything. Obviously, something unpleasant must have happened. If Senior wanted to talk about it, she would. If she didn't say anything, then I wouldn't ask. Taking the milk tea, Bai Wanzhou stood up. It's already closed here. Yeah, I turned around and took a look. Then my stomach started growling. From last night until now, I hadn't eaten very well. Hearing my stomach rumble, Bai Wanzhou said softly, "Let's go. Let's get something to eat." But when we passed a convenience store, looking at the grilled sausages at the store entrance, Bai Wanzhou and I both swallowed. But unlike me, Bai Wanzhou hadn't eaten all day. She looked at me and said, "If you want some, I'll buy 2. That's a little. I waved my hand and bought 6 right away. I gave 1 to Senior. Girls from Xinjiang should eat less. Then I ate the remaining 5 myself. Bai Wanzhou looked at the sausage in her hand and started eating. When she finished that one, she realized there was only 1 left in the bag. "The last one is mine. Give it to me." Bai Wanzhou held out her hand, seriously asking for it. For some reason, I suddenly found this fairy-like Senior a bit cute. It was like a fairy descending to earth and cooking in a stove. That contrast made her even more charming. I don't know when it started, but the fairy-like Senior who once felt out of reach, now, even when she appears by my side or walks beside me, has become something completely ordinary. A little after 7 p.m., Bai Wanzhou and I arrived by the lake, just as I was admiring the scenery. Bai Wanzhou took out her phone and started calling a taxi. She had just bought the tickets, planning to return to the countryside 40 kilometers away. You could even buy night tickets at this hour. By the time I came back to my senses, the taxi was already waiting by the roadside. After getting in, I asked in confusion, "Senior, where are we going?" "The station. Going back to Jiangsheng." "No, to my place." Soon, the taxi arrived at the station. The 2 of us found the bus we were taking. We boarded the night coach. After who knows how long, the bus jolted, and Bai Wanzhou's body leaned toward me involuntarily. I only felt something soft rest against my shoulder. My expression changed. At that moment, my heart was more nervous than it had ever been in my life. "Senior," I lowered my voice and called softly, but the person beside me didn't respond. I turned slightly to look at the iceberg goddess next to me and realized she had fallen asleep. Seeing the fairy-like Senior like this, my heart raced. She's really so beautiful. Although she looks strong on the outside, she's actually delicate at heart. A little girl who needs someone to care for her. Without realizing it, I reached out and poked her pretty cheek. Bai Wanzhou's eyebrows twitched slightly, but her eyes didn't open. After 2 hours on the road, the bus finally arrived. Bai Wanzhou had kept her head resting on my shoulder the whole time. I don't know whether she was really asleep at first or pretending, but now she was definitely truly asleep, because on my shoulder, there was a small crystal clear patch. I didn't expect that Senior would actually drool. "Senior, wake up." Bai Wanzhou's beautiful eyes fluttered slightly and opened in confusion. The first thing she saw was a handsome, youthful face. Bai Wanzhou froze for a moment, staring blankly. The fairy-like Senior who had just woken up no longer had that cold aura, but looked like an adorably sweet girl. So the fairy-like Senior can show this kind of expression too. As our eyes met, I broke the silence and hurriedly took out a tissue from my pocket, then wiped the corner of her mouth. Finally, Bai Wanzhou completely woke up. She had really fallen asleep, and she had slept very soundly. She was even drooling. So embarrassing. A clear flush appeared on the iceberg goddess's face. She reached out and snatched the tissue, muttered a thank you, then returned to her usual self. Bai Wanzhou took out her phone and called her uncle, asking him to drive over and pick us up. I immediately grew nervous. Her uncle and even the fairy Senior's mom. I swear I really just came to Hangsheng for fun. Although the reason was because of her. I never thought I'd actually run into her. But now not only did I meet her, I was even going to meet her family. Things were developing in an unbelievable direction, and I wasn't prepared at all. Noticing my expression, Bai Wanzhou said, "They're easy to get along with." And that was indeed true. When we arrived at her home, Her family treated me very warmly. It made me feel like I was back home. Over the next 3 days, I saw another side of the fairy senior. I felt our relationship had grown closer. In just a few days, I had completely become familiar with the other villagers. I even became the king of the village kids. Especially with my exceptional gaming skills, I instantly conquered all the elementary school kids within miles. The 7-day holiday had reached its 5th day. By Wanzhou and I were heading back to Jiangsheng. The village kids all came out to say goodbye. One little girl shouted, "Brother Lang Yang, when I grow up, I'm going to marry you." Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou's face darkened. I shuddered. It felt as if a murderous aura appeared beside me, making me uneasy. When I looked toward the source of that aura, I saw Bai Wanzhou, staring elsewhere expressionlessly, as if nothing had happened. When we arrived at the station, the two of us boarded the train back to Jiangsheng. Bai Wanzhou and I seemed to return to how we were at school before. Sitting in our own seats, neither of us speaking. I glanced at Bai Wanzhou. "Senior, don't be upset," I said to comfort her. "I'm not upset." "Then why are you frowning?" Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou shot me a sideways glance and said lightly, "Haven't I always been like this? It's just that these past few days, in front of her mom, she acted like a well-behaved daughter. So, suddenly going back to how she used to be, I felt a little unaccustomed." I stared at her profile in a daze. At first, Bai Wanzhou pretended not to notice. But with me staring at her nonstop, she felt her heartbeat becoming irregular. Just as she turned to question why I was staring at her, I softly said, "Senior, you don't have to push yourself so hard in front of me." After returning to the classroom apartment, Bai Wanzhou pointed to an empty room and said, "You can stay there, but only for today. Tomorrow and the day after." Hearing that, I asked curiously, "What about after the holiday ends?" Bai Wanzhou turned back and smiled gently. "That depends on how you perform these 3 days." Seeing her smile, I froze slightly and felt my heart sway again. I realized that after what I said to the fairy senior on the bus, she really wasn't as cold toward me anymore. But when she said it depended on my performance, her expression hardened, and she became completely serious. I had to perform perfectly in these 3 days. Otherwise, senior would kick me out. Seeing my solemn expression, Bai Wanzhou found it somewhat amusing. She suddenly said, "Go buy the ingredients for dinner today. Get whatever you want to eat. I'll cook after you bring them back." Hearing that, I made an okay gesture and left the living room. Bai Wanzhou sat on the sofa, resting her chin and looking thoughtful. "Does this count as living together?" No. This can only be considered sharing a place." "That's not right either. He can only stay 3 days. If he stays any longer, it would be impolite." "But this is his cousin's house. She's only renting a room herself. Should she really make him go back?" Bai Wanzhou looked extremely conflicted. Just then, her phone rang. Bai Wanzhou picked it up and answered. A girl's voice came from the other end. "Jojo, do you want to come over to my place these next 2 days?" "No. I've got things to do these 2 days." "You've got things to do? What could you possibly have at Jiang University that's more important than me?" The girl on the phone sounded doubtful. She was Bai Wanzhou's best friend, Li Xia. She was currently studying at Jiangsheng Medical University. The two had been very close since childhood. "Of course you're the most important. But tomorrow, I have something tomorrow. I'll come see you the day after." Bai Wanzhou was startled inside, almost letting something slip. Tomorrow was October 6th, Lang Yang's birthday. She remembered it clearly. Although Bai Wanzhou's tone was cold, Li Xia still felt that something wasn't right. Li Xia's eyes narrowed slightly. Over the phone, she said, "Jojo, if someone you're very familiar with suddenly seems like a different person, do you know why that might be?" Bai Wanzhou replied indifferently, "I don't know, and I don't want to know. There's only one truth. The thing that can make someone change quickly is love." The moment the word love was spoken, Bai Wanzhou hung up instantly. How could she possibly be in love? She was just helping the professor take care of something. Wait, why did mentioning love make her think of Lang Yang at this moment? Before long, I came back carrying bags of groceries. After dinner, the two of us returned to our rooms. Until 12:30 a.m., I suddenly noticed that the light in the fairy senior's room was still on. So I sent her a message, "Go to bed early, senior." Even though we were living under the same roof, but I still chose to message senior on my phone. After Bai Wanzhou received the message, she stared at her phone, lost in thought. Then she looked back at the computer in front of her. She had to finish this part-time job tonight. Originally, she wouldn't have been this busy during the holiday, but she needed to clear her entire schedule for tomorrow. Early the next morning, after breakfast, Bai Wanzhou went to Jiangcheng Medical University to find her best friend, Li Xia. Li Xia was sitting in a cafe, smiling faintly. "All right, what do you need from me?" Bai Wanzhou didn't waste any time. She went straight to the point. "Xia, when your boyfriend has a birthday, what do you usually give him?" Li Xia's expression changed as she stared at Bai Wanzhou in shock. "What did you just say? A birthday gift for a boyfriend? Who are you giving it to? Since when did you get a boyfriend?" Bai Wanzhou cleared her throat and said calmly, "Just a male friend. And I'm asking for a friend." Li Xia's lips twitched. Even an idiot could tell that was an excuse. "Which friend are you asking for? As far as I know, you only have one friend at Jiang University." "That's right, it's Su Xiaowen," Bai Wanzhou said without batting an eye. Li Xia looked speechless, but she didn't plan to expose her. Instead, she showed a teasing smile and glanced at Bai Wanzhou knowingly. "So, Wen has a boy she likes now. If she wants to give him a gift, she first has to know what that guy likes. What does Lang Yang like?" His face appeared in Bai Wanzhou's mind. What does Lang Yang like? For a moment, she really couldn't think of anything. They hadn't known each other for long. Barely over a month at most. And that was just knowing each other. If you really count it, it had only been these past few days. "Idiot Jojo," Li Xia said, barely holding back her laughter. "I bet what that guy likes most is you. When? Just give yourself to him. Wouldn't that be the best birthday gift?" The moment she finished speaking, a rosy blush appeared on Bai Wanzhou's face. Seeing her blushing, yet still trying to look serious, Li Xia was practically laughing inside. "Bai Wanzhou, so you have days like this too?" Li Xia cleared her throat and then said, "Jojo, since you're sincerely asking, I'll generously tell you. When it comes to men, what matters most isn't what you give, but the thought behind it. What can make his birthday truly special is a sense of uniqueness. You have to give him. Oh no, Wen has to give him a gift that only he can receive. Something no one else can have. That's what makes it special." After hearing that, Bai Wanzhou fell into thought. Then she raised an eyebrow slightly and said coolly, "Isn't that still telling Wen to give herself to him?" In a dorm at Jiang University, a certain girl surnamed Su suddenly sneezed. "Oh, Jojo. Why are you so clueless? A unique feeling isn't just that. Come on, I'll take you to the mall to pick a gift." Before Bai Wanzhou could say anything, Li Xia had already grabbed her hand. The two left the cafe together and headed to a nearby shopping mall. That evening, when I returned to the apartment, I noticed the light in Senior's room was on, as if she heard me come back. She opened the door. The moment the door opened, the room lights went out. All I could see was the fairy Senior's silhouette at the doorway. The next second, rows of candles on the cake lit up. I froze slightly, a confused expression on my face. "Senior, this is your birthday cake. Hurry and make a wish." Hearing that, I sat down. I looked at the fairy-like senior sitting in front of me, who showed no expression, but whose eyes were carefully fixed on me. I felt that at this moment, Bai Wanzhou was even more beautiful than before. This kind of beauty wasn't determined by looks, but was a unique kind of beauty. Looking at the candles in front of me, I closed my eyes and silently made a wish in my heart. I hope the fairy-like senior likes me too. Then I blew out the candles and opened my eyes. Beside me, Bai Wanzhou was curious about her junior's wish. Although she didn't know what it was, she hoped that this junior's wish would come true. Just then, the living room lights turned on. Bai Wanzhou's expression froze. It seemed she hadn't reacted yet. Why did this guy suddenly turn on the living room lights? "Senior, what's wrong?" I showed a puzzled expression. "Why do I feel like The fairy-like senior's expression looks a little unnatural. It's nothing. Bai Wanzhou stood up. Her body was somewhat stiff as she walked toward her room, her high heels clicking on the floor. I looked over, and then showed a shocked expression. Senior, you're... I saw Bai Wanzhou in front of me, wearing a white spaghetti-strap short dress, revealing her fair, smooth arms. For someone who usually only wore short sleeves, even wearing spaghetti straps made her feel a little shy. Incredible, simply perfect. The fairy-like senior in spaghetti straps. Probably no one in Jiang University has ever seen her like this. Bai Wanzhou turned her body slightly, her face faintly flushed. She spoke softly and said lightly, "Does it look good?" "Why, yes, it looks beautiful." Bai Wanzhou let out a sigh of relief. Lixia hadn't lied to her. It really worked. Although she had refused at first, under Lixia's strong insistence, Bai Wanzhou still gave in. But at this moment, she was extremely flustered inside. After letting Lang Yang take a glance, she hurried back to her room and changed into her pajamas. The next day, as Bai Wanzhou was about to head out, I asked her, "Senior, how have I performed these past few days?" Bai Wanzhou froze slightly. She had forgotten about that. However, seeing the serious yet slightly worried look on my face, she suddenly felt like teasing this junior. Guess. The iceberg goddess said those two words expressionlessly. For a moment, I couldn't figure out what she meant. But the fairy-like senior had already left. I could only let out a sigh. I walked into the room and packed up my luggage. After taking one last look at the apartment, I made up my mind that one day I would move in here openly and confidently. After returning to the dorm, I received a message from the fairy-like senior. The content was the secret code Su Xiaowen, and I used for gaming. As for why it was Bai Wanzhou sending it now, maybe because they were roommates. Perhaps Su Xiaowen had told the fairy-like senior. After entering the game interface, I put on my headset. Ever since I got closer to the fairy-like senior, she had been willing to turn on her mic while gaming and communicate, but for some reason, during this period, Senior Su Xiaowen seemed to have disappeared, not talking to me at all. Could she be angry? It made sense after getting to know the fairy-like senior. I hadn't contacted Su Xiaowen at all. It was as if I had treated her merely as a tool to get to know the fairy-like senior. One day I must find Senior Su Xiaowen and thank her in person. Just then, my roommate Wanda Chui noticed the team lobby on my screen. He asked in confusion, "Hey wild kid, is this the senior you've been thinking about all this time?" Hearing that, I nodded and answered instinctively, "Yeah." The moment the words left my mouth, I suddenly realized something. In a panic, I quickly muted the game microphone. Oh no, Senior heard that. Meanwhile, in the apartment, hearing the words thinking about, Bai Wanzhou froze slightly. Then an inexplicable happiness rose in her heart. Ever since I learned that the fairy senior had a habit of morning runs, I went to the track every day to run with her. I liked finding topics to chat about while we ran. Bai Wanzhou didn't like talking while running. But when the junior beside her asked her things, she didn't want to stay silent either. As they chatted, she realized it wasn't that she disliked talking while running. She just simply had no one to run with before. Especially when that person was Lang Yang. After finishing 6 laps, Bai Wanzhou turned to leave. Seeing me still sitting there blankly, on the track, she turned back and asked softly, "Junior, aren't you going to eat?" Hearing that, I jumped up and ran toward the fairy senior. This time, Bai Wanzhou went to cafeteria No. 13. The moment we walked in, I slowed down, keeping a bit of distance behind her. I was afraid others might misunderstand our relationship. She turned around and saw Lang Yang following behind her. Without restraint, she asked softly, "What are you doing?" "Senior, there are too many people. I'm shy." "You're shy?" Bai Wanzhou showed a puzzled expression. She found an empty seat and sat down, then rested her chin on her hand and looked at me. I quickly understood. Got it, Senior wanted me to buy breakfast. But I didn't know what she usually ate. So at the counter, I bought a few items based on a girl's appetite. Seeing that, Bai Wanzhou smiled slightly. Good. From now on, just use this standard. Starting today. From then on, what Bai Wanzhou ate every morning changed. Before, She only stuck to the same few items. There wasn't any special reason. She just had trouble making choices and didn't know what to eat. So she fixed a standard order and bought the same thing every morning. But now her breakfast had a new standard. Whatever Lang Yang bought was what she ate. So this is what it feels like not having to think. Bai Wanzhou began to understand why so many people fall in love. When someone takes care of you, you don't have to think. When problems arise, you don't have to solve everything alone. You can rightfully ask your other half for help. Looking at the young man in front of her, Bai Wanzhou suddenly felt her heartbeat quicken. At the beginning, when facing him, she could still keep the same cold expression as with others. But now Lang Yang was like a little sun, making it impossible for her to stay cold. She couldn't bear to show an aloof expression anymore. After class in the afternoon, my roommates and I went out to drink again. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou sent me a message. "What are you doing?" Very soon, she received a photo of the four of us, drinking like crazy. Seeing the message, a trace of speechlessness appeared on Bai Wanzhou's cold face. Why did this junior go drinking again? But he was kind of cute. An hour later, we took a taxi back to campus. Shen Qiao noticed that not far away, a slender figure was walking toward us. Seeing that figure, Shen Qiao curled the corner of his lips slightly, then wrapped his arms around the other two and went back to the dorm. Only I was left standing there. Not long after, Bai Wanzhou's cool voice sounded beside my ear. "Let's go home." As she spoke, Bai Wanzhou walked into the campus. Looking at the fairy-like senior's back, I blankly followed her to the apartment. Bai Wanzhou helped me sit on the sofa. Suddenly, my vision grew hazy, and my head gently leaned against her shoulder. Bai Wanzhou's expression changed, and her heartbeat began to race. What's going on? Why did this junior suddenly lean over? Before Bai Wanzhou could react, a pair of arms had already wrapped around her waist. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou's face turned completely red. Panic was clearly visible on her face. But her first reaction wasn't to push Lang Yang away. Instead, she just sat there on the sofa, her body stiff as a board, not daring to move at all. Then Bai Wanzhou turned her head to look at Lang Yang beside her. This junior didn't make any extra moves. After hugging her, he simply leaned against her and fell asleep. For some reason, Bai Wanzhou felt relieved. After confirming Lang Yang had fallen asleep, Bai Wanzhou began to carefully look at his face. If you look closely, this little guy was actually quite handsome. And when he touched her, she didn't feel any disgust. She helped Lang Yang up and brought him into the room. Just before closing the door, I turned over on the bed and murmured softly, "Fairy Senior, I like you." The voice of the sleep talk wasn't loud, but it happened to reach Bai Wanzhou's ears. She closed the door and returned to her room. The next morning, Bai Wanzhou walked out of her room and found someone lying in the living room. She walked over and lightly nudged me with her foot. I turned over and continued sleeping. Bai Wanzhou's beautiful brows furrowed slightly. She crouched down and started taking a bunch of photos of my sleeping face. After taking dozens of shots, she picked the ugliest one and sent it to Jiyu Mingxuan. Soon, the other side replied with a shocked emoji and asked, "My dear apprentice, what did my little brother do wrong to be kicked to the floor to sleep?" If you ask me, couples fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot of it. There's really no need to go this far. Bai Wanzhou showed a speechless expression. If she had known, she wouldn't have sent the photo to Jiyu Mingxuan. She originally thought that as an older brother, Professor Jiyu would criticize Lang Yang for drinking. Unexpectedly, the two brothers were completely on the same side. Yet his focus was actually on something else. At that moment, in my room, my phone alarm started ringing. If I didn't get up now, I'd miss Senior's morning run. When it rang for the third time, I opened my eyes and suddenly sat up from the floor. It startled Bai Wanzhou. She stepped back 2 steps and accidentally sat down on the floor. I stood up and looked around in confusion, only to find the fairy senior sitting on the floor, staring at me in shock. "Senior, why are you sitting on the floor?" Bai Wanzhou was speechless. After pulling her up, I asked in confusion, "Senior, didn't I go back to the dorm last night?" "No," Bai Wanzhou said lightly. "Your roommates left you at the school gate and left. Then you followed me all the way here." Hearing that, an embarrassed expression appeared on my face. I secretly glanced at the fairy senior's face and cautiously asked, "Senior, I didn't do anything inappropriate, right?" "No. Yesterday you just kept shouting the name Queen of the Women's Kingdom and saying you wanted to clear things up with her." Hearing that, my face changed, and I almost dropped to my knees. "Senior, I don't even know any Queen of the Women's Kingdom. In my heart there's only. Seeing that I couldn't finish, Bai Wanzhou stepped forward, almost interrogating, "Only what?" Seeing this, I gathered the greatest courage of my life, looked straight at her face, and said seriously, "Only you." Bai Wanzhou froze. An uncontrollable blush spread across her cheeks. Although she had heard my sleep talk last night, it felt completely different from hearing it. While I was fully awake, Bai Wanzhou turned around, not wanting this junior to see that her face was already red, seeing the atmosphere become awkward. I scratched the back of my head and said, "Senior, I was joking. I have something to do. I'll head out first." After saying that, I bolted out like my life depended on it. When Bai Wanzhou turned back, the redness on her face had faded a little, but her chest was still rising and falling rapidly. It was a good thing Lang Yang had left. If he hadn't just now, she really wouldn't have known what to do. This time was different from before. With her looks, since childhood, she had lost count of how many times she'd been confessed to, but this time was special. It felt completely different from before. In the past, her first reaction to a confession was rejection. This time, although it wasn't exactly a confession, she still felt at a loss. Even though she had never experienced it before, she clearly knew this was the prelude to love. Precisely because of that, she had to take it extremely seriously. If she were to fall in love in this lifetime, she only wanted to do it once. Either stay together till old age, or remain alone forever. On the other side, I ran downstairs and nervously looked back. After blurting out something like that today, how was I supposed to talk to the fairy senior again? That was reckless. After finishing breakfast at the cafeteria, I hurried off to class. On the way, I happened to bump into Senior Su Xiaowen, who was coming for breakfast. "Senior Su, I'm really sorry. I have class. I'll treat you to a meal another day." Su Xiaowen was completely dazed and didn't react at all. By the time she came to her senses, the person who bumped into her had already run off. Her brows immediately furrowed in irritation. "What the heck? He bumped into me and acted like we're super close. Even saying he'd treat me to a meal. What nonsense." Su Xiaowen bought her breakfast and found where Bai Wanzhou was sitting, then sat down across from her. Bai Wanzhou looked a little surprised. When you actually got up for breakfast?" "I've decided not to slack off anymore. I'm going to study hard from now on." Bai Wanzhou hesitated for a moment before saying, "Just give up. There's no chance anymore. We're already juniors. You're not going to learn anything now." Hearing that, Su Xiaowen looked completely dejected. "Jojo, your tongue is so venomous. If you get a boyfriend in the future, won't you crush his confidence to the point he questions his life?" Bai Wanzhou replied calmly. "No, I won't." "You won't?" Su Xiaowen looked as if she had just heard a shocking secret, her whole face filled with astonishment. She stared at Bai Wanzhou's face and thought about all the unusual behavior lately. She boldly guessed, "There's definitely something going on, Jojo. You moved to the classroom apartment so suddenly. Is it because of a guy? Did you hide a man in the apartment?" Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou said expressionlessly, "Guess." Back at the dorm, Senior and I started another sweet duo match. After playing for a while, Bai Wanzhou suddenly said she had something to do and hurriedly logged off. It was 3 p.m. at the time. She was probably attending the student union transition ceremony. After today, she would step down as student union president. So, I left the dorm, bought 2 cups of milk tea at the school gate, and headed to the venue. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou was on stage delivering her speech. Suddenly, she noticed a familiar figure at the back of the crowd, staring at her. It made her feel slightly uneasy, standing on the stage. It wasn't that she disliked being watched. After all, there were many people here, already looking at her. But Lang Yang's gaze alone gave her a strange feeling. Soon, Bai Wanzhou finished her part. She walked toward me, But I noticed that there was a little tag-along behind the fairy senior. He was in the same year as Bai Lanzhou in the student union. Vice President Wen Jishu. He was also one of Bai Lanzhou's ardent admirers. But from beginning to end, Bai Lanzhou never paid him any attention. Jojo, want to have dinner together tonight? I'll call the other student union members. Let's all have a farewell dinner together. I'm not going. Bai Wanzhou frowned as she spoke. Right now, she just wanted this person to leave quickly. Jojo, we've worked together for so long. Even if we leave the student union, we're still friends, Wen Jishu said persistently. Bai Wanzhou replied in a somewhat cold tone. We're not friends. You and I aren't in the same major. There won't be any interaction in the future either. How could we possibly be friends? Seeing that Wen Jishu still wanted to speak, I stepped forward and grabbed Bai Wanzhou's hand. Amid everyone's stunned expressions, I pulled her away from the scene. If someone had treated Bai Wanzhou like this before, she would have lost her temper already. But at this moment, she wasn't angry at all. She was even a little happy. I led the fairy senior all the way to the entrance of the teaching building. I glanced at the fairy senior beside me, her face icy cold. My nerves instantly tightened. Senior, I just thought that guy was going too far. I know saving the beauty like a hero, Bai Wanzhou said lightly. Yes, exactly. I agreed in my heart. Although her expression was a bit cold. The small hand I had just held was warm. It was smooth and soft, too. Senior, I bought milk tea. Bai Wanzhou took a sip of the milk tea. She looked at the label on it and said, half sugar. I remember last time the fairy senior even drank unsweetened coffee straight. She probably doesn't like sweet things. So I bought half sugar milk tea. It's a bit sweet, but not too sweet. Next time, don't. Drinks are drinks, food is food. I don't like having food in my drinks. I showed a puzzled expression. Wait, the key point is next time. There's a next time. My expression instantly brightened. Then I seemed to think of something. Senior, the sports meet is coming up soon. I'm planning to sign up for the 3,000-meter race. Bai Wanzhou glanced at me. Her eyes were full of doubt. Sometimes Bai Wanzhou doesn't even need to speak. With just one look, I know exactly what she's thinking. After all, Bai Wanzhou only has a few expressions on her face. I've already memorized which one means what. And as I've grown more familiar with Senior, I've noticed that her expressions are becoming more varied too. Senior, just watch. I definitely won't come in last. I originally wanted to say first place, but I really didn't have that confidence. Oh really? Bai Wanzhou didn't react much. Speaking of the sports meet, she hadn't participated once in the past 3 years of college. If she doesn't join in her 3rd year, she won't have time in her 4th year. Bai Wanzhou thought to herself, for this year's sports meet, should she sign up for a few events? Senior, if I don't come in last, what kind of reward will I get? Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou was stunned. Where did you look that up? As soon as she finished speaking, I froze. Oh no. I've been found out. I searched online for how to chase a girl and found a lot of methods. One of them was to set a goal and ask for a reward. Such a cliché trick. And the fairy senior saw right through it immediately. That was careless of me. I underestimated her. Seeing my conflicted expression, Bai Wanzhou pondered for a moment and said softly, if you can make it into the top 3, it's not impossible. When Yan, my expression instantly brightened. However, getting into the top 3 is indeed a bit difficult for me. After all, in the long-distance running event, there are more than 3 people from the track club, but the more arduous the process, the more meaningful it is to cross the finish line. I want to prove to Senior Sister that I'm serious about love. Looking at me, Bai Wanzhou found it quite amusing. This junior really doesn't know how to chase girls at all. But what does that matter? Whether two people can be together has never depended on one-sided effort and dedication. Bai Wanzhou said, shall we go? Go where? Junior brother, there's someone who wants to see you. After saying that, Bai Wanzhou turned and walked off campus. I followed, feeling a bit puzzled. We arrived at a nearby cafe. I saw a familiar figure sitting there. When Senior Su heard the voice, Su Xiaowen looked at me and immediately showed a surprised expression. It's you, the reckless kid who bumped into me this morning. It's me, Senior Su. Bai Wanzhou sat down beside Su Xiaowen and said calmly, when, this is Professor Gu's younger brother. So it's you. Su Xiaowen looked at me, her gaze carrying a hint of scrutiny. What's your name? What's your major? Su Xiaowen asked. I showed a confused expression. Shouldn't Senior Su already know that? At this moment, Bai Wanzhou gave a light cough. Su Xiaowen instantly realized something. I almost forgot Jojo said. Not to act like we're very familiar. I mean, are you planning to take the postgraduate exam? Which major are you considering? I don't know. I'm only a freshman. Well, postgraduate exams are very important. My suggestion is. Su Xiaowen began speaking confidently. The conversation between the two was completely not on the same wavelength. Bai Wanzhou watched with an awkward expression. After I left, Su Xiaowen turned her head, her eyes fixed on Bai Wanzhou, as if she were looking at a stranger. Jojo, this junior clearly likes you. Bai Wanzhou remained expressionless and said calmly, are there not many people who like me? That's different. Su Xiaowen said excitedly. Among all the people who like you, he's the only junior you haven't distanced yourself from. That's because he's Professor Gu's younger brother. Professor Jiu entrusted me to take good care of him. Bai Wanzhou explained calmly. The explanation sounded reasonable, with not a single flaw. In short, letting Lang Yang meet Su Xiaowen and get acquainted in advance would prevent the two from suddenly running into each other later, only for Su Xiaowen to act rashly and expose everything on the spot. Meanwhile, after I went back, I began devilish training for the 3,000-meter long run. As a result, due to the intense exercise, my whole body was sore the next day. Therefore, I didn't go on the usual morning run with Senior. Since joining the morning running routine, this was also the first time I wasn't on the track at this hour. Bai Wanzhou now felt that running alone was somewhat boring. But she had always run alone before. Since when had she gotten used to running with someone else? At that moment, my message arrived on Bai Wanzhou's phone. Senior, I woke up late today. Bai Wanzhou simply replied, Rest for the morning. In the evening, I went to the track again. After finishing my training, I was about to leave, when a voice called out from behind me. It was Liu Zhonglai, the former vice president of the Hanfu Club, also the newly appointed student council president, Lang Yang, Jr., leaving already. Hearing this, I turned around and asked in confusion, President, is there something else? Liu Zhonglai said mysteriously, just wait and see. Maybe there will be a surprise in a bit. I showed a confused expression, but I still chose to stay. Very soon, a voice that startled countless people rang out across the field. It was actually her. Why would she appear here? The talented beauty of Jiang University, the aloof campus goddess, Bai Wanzhou. Then, under everyone's astonished gazes, Bai Wanzhou also stood at the starting line of the long-distance tryouts. I finally understood why Liu Zhonglai told me to stay. The fairy-like senior had actually signed up for this sports meet as well. As the starting gun went off, she took off, charging ahead in the lead. Bai Wanzhou's daily morning training at university gave her better physical stamina than most others. In the end, she crossed the finish line in second place. With this round over, today's selection also came to an end. After it ended, Liu Zhonglai immediately went up to Bai Wanzhou to greet her. After all, he could be considered her successor. When she saw me behind Liu Zhonglai, Bai Wanzhou pretended not to see me and only gave a slight nod as a response to Liu Zhonglai. Then she turned and left. Liu Zhonglai was stunned. What's going on? Did you two have a fight? He turned and said, Junior Lang Yang, did you make her angry? I looked completely bewildered. Seeing my expression, Liu Zhonglai couldn't help but laugh. You've never been in a relationship, have you? Junior Lang Yang, making a girl angry isn't such a big deal. Couples can't possibly avoid conflicts forever. What matters is the reason she's angry, and your attitude when facing her anger. Hearing that, I glanced at Liu Zhonglai, and then nodded deeply. I looked at the fairy-like senior's back, and followed after her. Liu Zhonglai smiled faintly. He said, good luck. He was full of confidence in Lang Yang. After all, the fact that Bai Wanzhou reacted also indirectly proved that Lang Yang indeed had a place in her heart. You have to know, among Bai Wanzhou's many admirers, not a single one had ever made her show even the slightest Emotional fluctuation. Meanwhile, Bai Wanzhou left the campus and arrived at the entrance of the residential building. She knew I was following her and that I was acting all sneaky, like a thief. Bai Wanzhou found it somewhat amusing. This morning, she had learned from my roommate that I hadn't overslept, but had skipped the morning run because my whole body was sore. She actually wasn't angry at Lang Yang. She just didn't know how to describe her feelings. She simply felt like giving Lang Yang a bit of attitude, to let him know that lying was wrong. Simply put, it was just a girl's little mood swing. Sudden and somewhat inexplicable. Bai Wanzhou stood at the entrance of the building. While I stood still behind her, I didn't even try to hide, just standing there. About 20 meters behind her, the two of us were like a young couple sulking at each other. Suddenly, my message notification popped up on Bai Wanzhou's phone. Senior, have you eaten? Bai Wanzhou was slightly taken aback. Lang Yang was right behind her, yet he didn't dare come up and speak to her directly. I haven't. Let's go eat together. Seeing that message, Bai Wanzhou turned around to look at me. Go upstairs and sweep the floor, then mop it once as well. I'll wait for you here. Hearing that, I looked up, stunned for a moment, then revealed a determined expression. By the time I came back down, half an hour had passed. At that moment, Senior was holding 2 cups of milk tea. You took too long upstairs. I was thirsty, so I bought one. As for the other one, the second cup was half price. It'd be a waste not to buy it. I'm planning to give it to a neighbor. I thought to myself, neighbor, who's the neighbor? Bai Wanzhou turned around and said, let's go. Senior, weren't you giving it to the neighbor? Bai Wanzhou paused mid-step, then turned back to stare at me. She didn't say a word, yet it felt like she had said everything. At that moment, her gaze was like she was looking at an idiot. I instantly understood. Wasn't her neighbor me? Thinking of this, I stepped forward and took the milk tea from Bai Wanzhou's hand. Taking a big sip, so the fairy-like senior really bought it from me. She had even thoughtfully inserted the straw for me. Though she seemed cold most of the time, she was actually a gentle senior. But soon my eyes noticed that in her other hand, she was holding a completely unopened cup of milk tea, and on her usually indifferent face was a faint hint of caught-off-guard expression. What was going on? I looked at the straw and the milk tea in my hand. Did Senior have a habit of biting the straw while drinking milk tea? The straw in my cup was flattened, clearly bitten. Luckily, Senior just treated it as an accident and didn't dwell on it. After dinner, I returned to the dorm and began writing my novel. Although I'd been busier lately, meeting Wanzhou was still being updated regularly. During this time, perhaps because I had come to know the fairy-like senior, in my novel, the relationship between the male and female leads grew better and better. The positive reviews kept increasing, and it was even gradually showing signs of being adapted into a comic. Recently, my editor also found a rookie manga artist for me. However, this rookie manga artist didn't seem very easy to get along with. He didn't add people on private contact apps, so we could only communicate through the novel platform. Meanwhile, in the classroom apartment, Su Xiaowen was lying on Bai Wanzhou's bed. She suddenly noticed something different about Bai Wanzhou's expression, so she asked in confusion, Jojo, what happened? Why do I feel like you're a little happy? Really? Bai Wanzhou replied calmly. She was indeed very happy. A lot had happened today. Su Xiaowen noticed that on Bai Wanzhou's computer, there was an image, which seemed to be a cover, and it was beautifully made. This is the draft cover for meeting Wanzhou's comic, Bai Wanzhou said. Hearing that, Su Xiaowen widened her eyes. What? Isn't this the book I recommended to you last week? That's right. Bai Wanzhou usually had the habit of reading novels, but she rarely read web novels. After finishing The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, she fell into a reading slump. Then Su Xiaowen recommended meeting Wanzhou to Bai Wanzhou, and swore confidently that everyone who read this book would be unable to resist wanting to fall in love. Not convinced, Bai Wanzhou gave it a try. At first, she found it rather heart-wrenching. The male lead loved but could not have, only able to silently watch from behind his first love. Until later, when he met the senior, it felt as if a whole new world had opened up. All the pent-up frustration vanished. and Bai Wanzhou began to like the book. When she saw readers in the comment section asking the author for a comic adaptation, she felt that this was something she could do herself. After all, aside from computer science, she was top tier in many other areas as well. Not to mention her drawing skills. Even producing simple animation would be no problem at all. So she submitted an application to sign as a comic artist, hoping to take on the comic adaptation of this novel. After all, the content of this book had truly drawn her in, even giving her a strong sense of immersion. Some of the scenes even felt strangely familiar to her. She looked at the cover draft in front of her. The girl on the cover was very beautiful, and the boy was somewhat handsome as well. The characters she drew were based on real references. One was herself, and the other, after nearly a week's time, meeting Wanzhou, had already released its first comic chapter. The first chapter was deeply loved by readers. Even I was very satisfied with it. After finishing morning classes, I returned to the dorm, looking at the homework assigned today. I had a headache. I sighed, thinking this assignment was weighted difficult. Zheng, the fairy-like senior, is a top student in computer science. Why not ask her for help? Thinking of this, I closed my laptop and left the dorm. Soon, I arrived at the classroom apartment. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou walked out of her room. What are you here for? Senior, I don't know how to do this homework. I opened up my assignment. Bai Wanzhou was slightly stunned, then said, Isn't this a freshman basic course? You don't even know this. If this continues, you'll fail. Your brother asked me to look after you. If you fail, it'll be my reputation on the line. From today on, I'll tutor you in your major courses. After saying that, she brought out a book from her room. This book covers the basic theory. Memorize 20 pages a day. I'll check you every day. From now on, you're not allowed to leave until you finish reciting. At 2 p.m., I sat on the sofa holding the book, looking utterly miserable. Bai Wanzhou felt a stomach ache and returned to her room. I realized it might be her period. So I put down the book and went downstairs to buy some brown sugar. Hearing the door close, Bai Wanzhou opened her door and glanced at the living room. He left. She walked out, then lay down on the sofa in the living room, looking at how empty it felt around her. She turned on the TV to at least make the place a bit livelier. Ever since meeting the junior, she suddenly realized she had become afraid of loneliness. It wasn't that she felt lonely only when the junior wasn't around. In the past, she had been a strong, independent woman who could do everything herself. But now, when she felt unwell, she found herself secretly hoping someone would stay by her side. Yet the junior had left. He hadn't even finished memorizing the book before leaving. After lying down for a while, she heard the sound of the door opening. I walked in carrying several large and small bags. Senior, wait a moment, I'll cook something for you. Soon, I placed a big bowl in front of Bai Wanzhou. Senior, have some. Bai Wanzhou said nothing. She looked at the brown sugar water in front of her, her expression shifting slightly. She picked up a spoon and took a sip. Although it didn't taste that great, she had the sudden urge to keep drinking. Very soon, she finished the entire large bowl of brown sugar water. I glanced at the time. There were only 10 minutes left before afternoon class. So after setting black chicken soup to simmer, I said, Senior, I've got soup cooking. Wait for me to come back. With that, I left the apartment for class. However, when I returned, at a glance, I saw Bai Wanzhou sitting on the sofa eating potato chips. Seeing that, I strode over. Under her astonished expression, I snatched the bag of chips from her hand. Senior, I put on a deliberately stern face. Bai Wanzhou was stunned. On her usually aloof face appeared a clear look of disbelief. When did the junior become this bold? You can eat a little, Bai Wanzhou said softly. She looked at me expressionlessly, then moved her arms slightly, reaching out to grab the chips back. In response, I took out one chip from the bag and said, Only one. After saying that, I walked into the kitchen with the chips, looking at the pot of soup simmering. Before entering the kitchen, I had even taken a bite myself. Bai Wanzhou's face instantly darkened. You won't let me eat it. Yet you still took a bite yourself. HMPH. She pouted, as if venting her dissatisfaction. When I came out again, the chips had already been finished by me. Seeing my empty hands, Bai Wanzhou asked calmly, Where are the chips? I finished them. Stay with me. I want milk tea. To be honest, she knew she shouldn't be eating so many snacks at a time like this, but she deliberately said it anyway. Just to see Lang Yang's worried expression. Senior, once you're not in pain anymore, I'll buy it for you every day. HMPH. Bai Wanzhou let out a barely noticeable snort and turned her head away, looking at the fairy-like senior's stunning face. I couldn't help but say, Senior, you're really beautiful. Bai Wanzhou paused, a trace of shyness flashing across her face, though she quickly concealed it. TSK. You sure know how to talk. Soon, the day of the school sports meet arrived. When it was time for the women's sprint event, the fairy-like senior stood on the track, causing quite a stir. Among them, I was shouting the loudest, almost drowning out the host microphone. At this time, more and more people filled the stands, from the initial 70 or 80 to 300 or 400 now. Ever since Bai Wanzhou stepped down as student council president, this iceberg goddess had rarely appeared on campus. But the fact proved that her popularity was still incredibly high. After finishing her run, Bai Wanzhou walked toward the athletes' rest area. She looked toward the stands. Although the crowd had grown, she still remembered exactly where I was sitting, thinking about how the junior had been wildly cheering just now. Bai Wanzhou murmured softly, "Little fool." Soon, it was time for the men's 3,000-meter long-distance race. I stood nervously on the track. With the sound of the starting gun, I kept close to the leading pack, not daring to fall behind. Meanwhile, Bai Wanzhou stood on the grass in the center of the field, her eyes following me without leaving for even a moment. Before long, first and second place crossed the line one after another. If I wanted third place, I had to sprint. I clenched my teeth and squeezed out the last of my strength, just as I was about to catch up to the two ahead, when Jishu, who had already been lapped twice, noticed Bai Wanzhou in the middle of the field. He realized her gaze was fixed behind him. When he turned around, he saw it was me, the one who had embarrassed him last time. And the look in Bai Wanzhou's eyes was something he had never seen in the past 2 years. Thinking of this, an unwilling expression crossed his face, just as I was about to pass him. He pretended to stumble and fell sideways. In the middle of my sprint, my mind went blank. My eyes were fixed only on the track ahead. Suddenly, it felt like something tripped me. The world spun around me, and I rolled several times across the field. A wave of gasps erupted from the stands. Wang Dechui immediately glared in anger. He did that on purpose? My 3 roommates rushed down from the stands at once. Bai Wanzhou had also already arrived by my side. Lying on the ground, I had only one thought in my mind. It's over. Third place is gone. How are you? Bai Wanzhou's voice was filled with undisguised worry. As she looked at the wound on my leg, Shen Qiao quickly said, "The priority is to get Lang Yang to the infirmary." Soon, I was carried to the medical room. Watching my back, Bai Wanzhou turned to look at Wen Jishu. It was also the first time she had truly examined him closely. At this moment, her gaze turned exceptionally cold, a look Wen Jishu had never seen before. Her usual gaze was merely indifferent, and few had ever witnessed her true coldness. This time, she was genuinely angry. Bai Wanzhou stepped forward, but after only 2 steps, she was stopped by Liu Zhonglai. "Sister Bai, you should go to the infirmary too. I'll handle things here." Bai Wanzhou said calmly, "Thank you." Then she turned and left the field. Meanwhile, I was lying on the hospital bed, unable to move. Even now, my mind was still stuck on the 3,000-meter race. After who knows how long, Bai Wanzhou came into my ward. She asked calmly, "How are you?" "What did the doctor say?" "The doctor said my bones are tough. No fractures. I just need to stay for observation for a day. If nothing's wrong, I can leave." Hearing that, Bai Wanzhou finally felt relieved. Suddenly I sighed. What a pity I didn't make the top 3. Seeing my dejected expression, Bai Wanzhou said softly, "But I made the top 3. Really? Congratulations, senior." Bai Wanzhou looked at me and said calmly, "An agreement works both ways. If you make the top 3, I reward you. If I make the top 3, you reward me." I looked at the fairy-like senior in confusion. not quite processing it at first. The corner of Bai Wanzhou's lips lifted slightly. From now on, you'll handle all the housework at home. And I mean every day. I froze, then suddenly understood. That meant I had earned the right to live in the classroom apartment. The Saturday after I was discharged, I carried the daily necessities I had bought to the entrance of the classroom apartment. Just as I was about to knock, my phone rang. It was a message from the fairy-like senior. We're out of soy sauce. Stop by the supermarket downstairs and buy a bottle on your way. Seeing that, I didn't knock. Instead, I put down my luggage and went downstairs to buy soy sauce. After I left, hearing the noise, Bai Wanzhou opened the door to take a look. She saw 2 large bags at the entrance, but no sign of me. This junior didn't even say a word after arriving. He went downstairs so absent-mindedly. She carried the things I had bought inside and thoughtfully made my bed, laying out the mattress and sheets. After a while, when I returned to the apartment door, I saw the entrance was completely empty. My face changed. Had my packages been stolen? Thinking of that, I knocked on the door. After Bai Wanzhou opened it, she saw me sitting on the sofa in despair, scrolling through my phone nonstop. Though who knew what I was looking at? Bai Wanzhou walked over to see what I was browsing. She discovered I was actually looking at household supplies. Bai Wanzhou quickly understood. Did he think his packages had been stolen? Thinking of this, something stirred in her heart. She asked, "You haven't done today's housework yet?" Hearing that, I stood up, patted my chest, and said, "Leave it to me. I guarantee I'll clean everything spotless for you, senior." After saying that, I started doing the chores. When I finished, I went back to looking at my phone. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou asked expressionlessly, "Why are you still here?" I looked at her in confusion. Bai Wanzhou continued pretending to be indifferent. "I remember I only said you take care of the daily housework. I never agreed that you could live here." So this was what they call wishful thinking. That's right, with the fairy-like senior's personality. How could she possibly agree to live under the same roof as me, even if we were in separate rooms? I lowered my head and locked my phone screen, then stood up, saying stiffly, "Sorry, senior. I misunderstood. I'll leave now." After that, I turned to go. Seeing how downcast I looked, a trace of heartache appeared on Bai Wanzhou's face. The junior had been upset by her. Then, Lang Yang heard the fairy-like senior's voice by his ear. If memory served, this seemed to be the first time she had called my name. I turned around blankly to look at Bai Wanzhou. The iceberg goddess was looking at me with a faint smile. Her tone no longer so cold. Instead, her tone carried a hint of playfulness. "You left something in your room." What could I possibly have left? But I still walked to the door of my room. The moment I opened the door, I saw the neatly made bed and the open delivery packages on the floor. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. My packages hadn't been stolen, and the fairy-like senior had actually helped me set everything up. It was obvious she had agreed to let me live here. I didn't say a word the whole time. Not because I didn't want to speak, but because the emotional ups and downs made my voice tremble. Seeing my expression, Bai Wanzhou wondered if I had lost my mind. "Forget it. This junior is always a bit strange. I won't bother with him." Back to my room to draw the comic. After returning to her room, she opened Meeting Wanzhou, planning to check the latest chapter. But instead of an update notification, there was a leave notice. "Dear readers, I have something to take care of today, so I'm taking a day off. Even when I injured my leg a few days ago, I didn't ask for leave. But today's matter is really important." She scrolled further down and saw a comment the author had liked. "Author, are you going to see your goddess? Too excited to write." Seeing that the author had liked this comment, Bai Wanzhou's expression turned strange. Then she looked again at the leave notice from Returning Fallen Leaves, which mentioned his leg injury a few days ago. At that moment, Bai Wanzhou seemed to realize something. She opened Lang Yang's green bubble profile page and checked his nickname. Displayed below was his online name, Returning Fallen Leaves. Looking at this, Bai Wanzhou found it rather surreal. When she first added Lang Yang on Green Bubble, she hadn't read this novel yet, so she hadn't paid attention to his username. Later, after changing his contact remark, she noticed it even less. No wonder she felt such strong immersion while reading this novel. Could it be that returning fallen leaves